2018, the Chicago Bears are quite far behind that. They've used 5 under Matt Nagy, and that brings us to this. Let's talk about Justin Fields, whose status for this Sunday's game against the Lions remains unclear after he suffered an injury to his right hand in the Bears' disastrous loss to the Browns. Yesterday here on Get Up, our Marcus Spears was, shall we say, animated in our conversation.
I have a hard time believing Matt Nagy thought straight drop back game for Justin Fields was the right way to go. Myles Garrett even said it. They were shocked. When the defense is shocked about your game plan in a bad way, you terrible. I was dead wrong about wanting Justin Fields to start week 1 because I thought Matt Nagy was competent. When a coach thinks his scheme is more important than his personnel, he sucks as a coach. And that's what Matt Nagy did to the Chicago Bears on this past Sunday.
So, a strong opinion, but I think there is a lot of agreement in general. Now, Kimberly, you covered that game and you were there.
I saw that.
And but what he just referenced about even the Browns being surprised, you were telling us that's 100% accurate.
Yeah, I spoke to head coach Kevin Stefanski the night before the game. And he said, you know what, Kimberly, I don't know exactly what the Bears offense will look like with Justin Fields, but I imagine they're not going to put him in harm's way, given that it's his first start on the road. Well, guess what? That's exactly what the Bears did. And the interesting thing is the Browns, too, what Marcus was saying, the Browns were shocked because they expected RPO. They expected quarterback runs. They expected the Bears to get Justin out on the perimeter and use his feet to kill. And none of that happened. So I'm still shocked that I witnessed it but I'm glad Marcus admitted he was wrong, because you guys know how I feel about these rookie quarterbacks starting, and particularly Justin Fields, because there's nothing about, what did you guys just say, 5 quarterbacks under Matt Nagy, right?
Correct.
There's no evidence yet that this franchise has figured out the quarterback situation and how to manage it. And Matt Nagy saying after the game, the day after, everything's on the table. All three guys. Yeah. That gives you no confidence, if you're a Chicago Bear fan, that they have a handle on what's happening. Because if you're going to start Justin Fields, now we're talking about not starting Justin Fields, what are we doing?
Well, let's talk about the fans, because they're obviously up in arms, and they are represented here on this program by Rob Ninkovich, the pride of Joliet, Illinois, who I believe is in constant communication with the super fans. What are we hearing, Ninko?
Yep, I got another letter. This one isn't directed towards the coach. This is towards the super fans. I just got it. It just came to the house. The guy with the weed whacker dropped it off. Here it goes. Okay, here it is. Dear super fans, we have the combined power of the sun. With this power, we the super fans will take over head coaching responsibilities effective immediately. We, the Bears super fans, name the Bears starting quarterback Sir One Matthew Nagy. And we will not change. We will not change the offense, and we will only use 5-man protections against our next opponent. We also have sent a chart of the Bears statistics of this last game. And I will hold it up right now. The Bears had a combined passing yardage attack of plus 1 yards, which could be possibly the worst Bears outing we have ever seen in history, with 9 sacks. So with Matthew Nagy as our starting quarterback, we will go down with the ship. And we will watch Matthew Nagy get sacked back-to-back times for maybe a negative yardage passing play.
What got into Ninko today?
Thank you, super fans, for all the support. Take care. That's what the note said, and they sent me the chart.
Really well done, sir. It's a tour de force. What can I tell you, Ninko? That man's on fire this morning. And so now let's actually, Nick, I have to ask you a football question. Yeah. Justin Fields has a hand, and Andy Dalton has a whatever he has, and a knee, and Nick Foles is there. What is going to happen now?
I can't predict it. So I guess Matt Nagy, based on his game plan last week, he was just outthinking himself. He's like, they think that I'm going to use his athleticism,
right,
so I'm not going to do that. So this week, maybe he'll go with Nick Foles, because no one's expecting that. While he said all three quarterbacks are up, no one is expecting him to go with Nick Foles. That might be the move. I still think that you go with Justin Fields, but with all the attention that his game planning has been getting, I suspect that he's going to go out there with Justin Fields and do everything that we've all been asking him to do. Get Fields out of the pocket, run RPOs, do design quarterback runs, all the things that we said that he should do. He's going to do them this week, and we'll see what happens.
Listen, they play the Lions. This was a game before the season began that we had kind of pointed to as, if everything else had remained equal, maybe this is the spot where they try to go to Fields. Clearly, they went a week earlier on the road against an extraordinarily tough pass rush in Cleveland, and we all saw what wound up happening. All right, we'll come back to this in a little while, but I got to get to the college of it all here, because Clemson is off to a tough start by its lofty standards, losing already to Georgia and NC State this month after not losing a single game in August or September over the previous 6 years. That loss to the Wolfpack over the weekend, snapping a 36-game win streak against unranked opponents, which was the second longest active streak entering play this week. And the Tigers are now rated 25th in the AP poll, which ends their run of 97 straight weeks in the AP top 10, which is the third longest streak in the history of the poll. And so we have Robert Griffin III with us today, our college analyst, and we bring in Heather and Paul as always. And so, Heather, I think it is one of the questions I'm hearing people ask. Are Clemson's days as a national powerhouse, have we seen that come to an end?
No, absolutely not. They have lost 2 games. I mean, listen to this. They are in the midst of their 7th top 10 recruiting class. Clemson's offensive efficiency right now, guys, is 75th in the country. Over the past 6 seasons, when they're contending for a national title, they are ranked 4th. This is not a problem with process or system or the program. They cannot block anyone, and that can be fixed.
All right, Paul, let me come to you on the same question. What are your thoughts on Clemson and its relative place in the college football pecking order right now?
Dabo's dynasty is done. Ooh. I do not like anything I see there. I respect what Heather has just got through saying, but I strongly and vehemently disagree. They've lost one coach a couple of years ago to USF. I think that was a big loss. This is a staff that has always been together, but I think it's getting stale. Yes, recruiting is still good, but will it be elite after what we just got through watching, Greeny? It just doesn't look like Clemson is part of the cool kids anymore, and I think that they're going to pay for it in recruiting, and they play in a terrible league, which will hurt them even more.
RG3, let me come to you on that thought, because they've gone back-to-back superstar quarterbacks, obviously, in Deshaun Watson, into Trevor Lawrence, and now they go right to Uiagalelei, who we thought was going to pick up the baton and run with it, and we haven't seen it. What is wrong with that offense?
Greeny, I gotta say first, it's DJ Uiagalelei, and I don't agree. I don't agree with Paul. I don't think maybe they're taking too much off the top for Paul there. Clemson's not done as a power. They're not done as a national power. I really believe that their offense is really the key for them. They have to learn to adapt to the times, right? The days of lining up and just steamrolling people because you have better athletes are over. Teams have put together schemes that have helped bridge the gap between the good players and the great players, and they have to be able to do that. Offensively, it's formations, it's route concepts. They have to have more variety there. But I also think they have to make a mental decision to go ahead and ride the coach of DJ Uiagalelei. I called the game last week, and I saw him go out there and make some plays that most quarterbacks can't make. So I wouldn't be opposed to them just spreading it out, using their length at receiver, the athleticism that they have, and the size, and letting DJ throw it on first, second, and third down, because they're not run blocking well. You're not pass blocking that great, but it's better than their run blocking. So you just got to make a decision and move forward that way. But I do not think Clemson is done. Dabo's a great coach. Tony Elliott's a great offensive coordinator, but their ability to fix this offense and get it buzzing is really going to tell you the future for both of them moving forward.
You know, Heather, the way I brought this up on the radio the other day, and I thought this is another example, I think, and I'll get Paul's take on this in a moment as well, of how Nick Saban has skewed everything, which is to say they've been in the playoff 6 consecutive years. So they've been one of the 4 best teams in the country 6 consecutive years and won 2 national championships. Go back through history and find me how many great coaches have ever had a stretch like that. You're supposed to have a bad year every now and again. Saban has just so skewed people's perspective that it makes the extraordinary seem ordinary. That's the way I look at it. Heather, what do you think?
I agree with you. And when you look at Dabo Swinney, his winning percentage right now is over 80%. He's right behind Nick Saban. In order to get to the College Football Hall of Fame, your winning percentage has to be 60%. So if you take it into perspective, like you're saying, he's right behind Nick Saban. And yes, Saban has absolutely skewed it. That's why he's making $1 gazillion, because nobody can beat him.
That's what do you think of that, Paul? Obviously, as close to that situation as you are, that it has skewed the way we view other teams and schools' accomplishments.
Correct, but one thing I want to say, Greeny, and if you walk out your building right now and go about 5 blocks to Wall Street, when the market opens in an hour, they're not buying stock on what happened yesterday or 4 years from now. They're looking ahead, and that's my concern about the Clemson program. Some of it is the ACC, but most of it is just perception. Everything is compared to perfection. Everything is compared to Nick Saban, and when you lose at North Carolina State after almost losing to Georgia Tech, suddenly the bottom falls out, and that's why there is a negative perception about Dabo Swinney's program today.
All right, we'll see where it goes. We'll bring Heather and Paul back for a little more on this. Talk about Alabama, Ole Miss this week, and a whole lot more as this morning's program continues. In the meantime, as we continue as well, is it time for panic or patience in Pittsburgh? Heather, the Steelers